Well, it's been a huge week for Gold Coast United, but it's back to business tonight as we welcome you to Meakin Park for the National Premier League's Queensland Round 8 clash between Gold Coast United and Mackay Whitsunday Magpies Crusaders United. We are at the home of Football Queensland this evening to bring you all the live action between 11th and 13th on the National Premier League's Queensland ladder. I think we could be in for a hugely exciting encounter nonetheless. Visitors have only picked up one win so far this season, but don't let that fool you. Apart from the 6-2 opening day defeat to Olympic in that monsoon up in Mackay in round 1, all of the defeats have come by just a single goal. I don't think it will be long before the Crusaders kick into gear and swoop in on their first away win. Could it happen tonight in front of the Football Queensland cameras? Gold Coast United have announced their intention to bid for one of these elusive Hyundai A-League expansion licences, joining National Premier League's Queensland rivals Brisbane City and Brisbane Strikers to formally announce their intentions to the world. And what better way to celebrate than by grabbing their third win of the season to back up last week's three-pointer over North Queensland United. Not in front of their home crowd tonight, unfortunately, due to Commonwealth Games requirements down at Robina Station Reserve. So hopefully you'll be tuning in to Football Queensland's live stream with me, Simon Smale, instead. Welcome to the live coverage. It's a hugely busy night of action around the grounds here in Queensland. We'll keep you up to date on most of the goals as they go in throughout the evening. Just a quick update on the only games that have kicked off so far. Brisbane City are leading Sunshine Coast Fire, by a score of 2-0. That game kicked off half an hour ago, give or take. Let us know where you're watching, when you're tuning in from, in the comments section on Facebook, and let us know who you're voting, who you're going for tonight. Big welcome to you if you're joining us from the Mackay Whitsundays region, and of course from the Gold Coast as well. Couple of changes for both sides in their squads this evening from last week. 3 changes for the hosts. Coming in, Alistair Davis, Brandon LeMay and Matt Green. They replace Tyler Wagstaff, Coults and Fraser Ella. Magpies Crusaders, just one inclusion, Isaiah Kennel. He comes in place of Green and Gallia. Magpies Crusaders were forced into a late change as well. Michael Kay was injured in the warm-up, so he has dropped to the bench, and I guess will be slightly unlikely to see him over the course of the evening. So a little bit of an issue with one of the goals here at Meakin Park. Referees team led by Paul Eldridge, ably assisted by Ryan Mooney and John Vasiliadis. Just checking on that at the moment. Looks like John Vasiliadis on his knees behind the goal. Yeah, everything seems to be okay now. And likewise away to our left for Ryan Mooney. It's quite a steamy evening here on the south side of Brisbane. Paul Eldridge getting ready to get us underway, and he does so. Magpies Crusaders in the black, kicking from right to left. We couldn't quite get that ball through, but they do retain possession through Liam Shipton. Shipton amazing his way through. Quackawoot was dispossessed, but back to Shipton. And there's Ezra Kennel. Launches it forward to his captain, Michael Lyle, and Michael Lyle forces Asim Tomic to concede a throw-in early here as we kick things off at Meakin Park. Magpies Crusaders only lost by a goal over the last couple of weeks, but they are still picking up defeats, and that's something they're going to want to rectify fairly quickly under Carlos Garcia. Henson does well to win the throw in there. Goes relatively early, aimed towards Quackawoot. The whistle blows. It's Lachlan Weir who's on the deck. National Premier League's Queensland winner, of course, with strikers, who he played for under current coach Sean Lane. Played 16 times, did Weir, for the Premiers. Played a couple of times for Raw. Made his debut last week in the win against North Queensland United. Just the second win of the season for Gold Coast, and here they go through Rhys Duncan on the right. Tricky from Rhys Duncan. Lockie Roos. Nagata forced to go all the way back to Tomic. No relation to the tennis player, I'm told. It's been mighty impressive as Archie Tomic, former Surfers Paradise Apollo star. He's described by Sean Lane as a winner who leads by example prior to the season. This is his first captaincy gig. And he conspires along with Nagata to pick the pocket of Kyle Markham, 24-year-old, who admitted last week that he hadn't quite given 100% for the first time. He's going to continue with the attitude of players not knowing him and him not knowing them, and so to just bring it, as he told Channel 7 up in the north earlier this week. Not a bad attitude. He does need to find the back of the net, does Kyle Markham. Scored 4 goals in his first 3 games and has now gone on a streak where he has failed to score for the last 3. Interestingly, he's also picked up a yellow card in each game that he's scored in, so if Paul Eldridge brandishes a card in his direction early, and perhaps he might be worth a shout for a goal, if that's how these things work. Free kick given over on that far side in favour of Magpies Crusaders. Just gone 4 points adrift of the pack. 11 points at the bottom with Sunshine Coast, who, as I mentioned, are already 2 goals down at corporate travel management staging this evening. Well, that's nice from Tomic to escape from danger. Anyway, up a blind alley, and that was unfortunate. Rhys Duncan, had that not just deflected off his lower back, could have been in behind the defence there. So, a bit unfortunate, but nice idea for Gold Coast United. Lockie Roos earning that free kick there. Wernerson over towards the far side, and Connor Smith, the Evertonian. He scored in the 2-2 draw with Olympic last week. I'm sure he would have had a good conversation with Danny Byrne, either before, during or after the game. Danny Byrne, a mad Everton fan, of course. Connor Smith played there as a junior before moving on to Fleetwood Town, Stockport, Skelmersdale and AFC Liverpool before contacting Sean Lane on social media in order to get his chance on the Gold Coast, preferring the Surfside culture. Ball was still rolling at quite a rate of knots, and Paul Eldridge was not having that from Uru Nagata. Played over 50 games for Rochdale, did Nagata. Scored against Cairns in round 1 in that victory. Both sides just feeling each other out as we get things underway here. Have had plenty of rain in the south east corner over the last few days, not nearly as much as they're experiencing in the north at the moment, but enough to cause a couple of problems. Had a couple of washouts in the Football Queensland Premier League. And the pitch walking across here at Meakin Park was soggy in places, but otherwise pretty much immaculate. Duncan trying to break through a blind alley, but he was denied any access to the inside of the field there. And then had himself mugged by Warwick Jansen. Gold Coast throw. Nagata to take. Duncan doing his best. That's a nice little flick there by Michael Lyle. But it's still Nagata who flicks it towards the back post. Bit too far away from Jack Gates, who was arriving. The 22-year-old Tasmanian. It was probably more of a threat to Mitchell Wright's goal than anything else directly, that ball from Nagata. Just unable to direct it on target. Magpies throw. For a big contingent of supporters, relatively, down here to Meakin Park today. And they won't want to see too much more of that. A little bit sloppy there from the Magpies over on that far side. Magpies Crusaders. As I mentioned, let us know where you're watching from on this Football Queensland live stream produced by Double Take. The vast majority of you plumping for a Gold Coast win today. 85% on the Instagram story. Follow Football Queensland on Instagram if you don't already. Keep you up to date. That's a half-decent shot by Connor Smith. It was deflected wide for a corner. Quite large in-goal areas here, if this was rugby league. That is. Oh, nice work, but Smith was offside. Flag went up straight away. Nice idea from Gold Coast. Little set play. Looked more threatening, have Gold Coast. There's another ball on the field, which one of the ball girls has removed. Around the grounds, Olympic have taken an early lead against the Raw Youth. Over at the new Logan Metro Sports Centre, not a million miles away from here. The Raw looking to christen their new venue with a win. It's not quite going to plan as yet. Olympic with a very early lead there. Still 2-0 to Brisbane City in the other game, but back to matters at hand, and Connor Smith racing down the left, but he is denied, and a bit of a discussion going on over on that far side as to whether or not they're going to get the ball from the Magpies Crusaders bench. Uncompromising defending there at the back by Wernerson. Here's Archie Tomic. On a rampaging run. Oh, he's still going, Tomic. Doesn't have the ball, but he's anticipating putting Alan Jackson, or Tito as he's known up in Mackay, under a bit of pressure, and it was really from that run, even though Tomic has retreated back to the defensive line that caused Magpies Crusaders all those problems. And it's Gold Coast who picked up the ball now. Here's Smith looking to spray the ball wide to Nagata. Lovely ball and lovely touch from Nagata. Here's Duncan. Duncan going outside, crossing dangerously. It's flicked off the head there by the Magpies Crusaders defence, and we could have a counter-attack on here. Pushed wide to Quackaroot. Quackaroot hits that ball straight at the Gold Coast defender. Wernerson stood tall. Bit of confusion there. Duncan launching that ball forward, but it was Janssen and Quackaroot who got themselves in a little bit of trouble there. Nice idea from Michael Lyle. Scored 6 goals in his 5 games, but also has been sent off, and was sent off against Olympic in that opening game. Bit of a legend in Mackay. Scored 182 goals in the local league for Magpies in 100 appearances, which is quite a staggering total. And he's kept that up in the National Premier League's Queensland. Not quite at the same rate, but he's scored 6. Really from just 3 games. A brace against Sunshine Coast, Moreton Bay United and South West Queensland Thunder. So he knows where the back of the net is, former Nottingham Forest academy player. Didn't quite crack the half century last year in goals in just the 16 appearances for Magpies. It wasn't far off. 49 was his tally. Austin, a little bit too much there for Gold Coast of Connor Smith. It's a rather flat clearance by Mitchell Wright, but it works out for Magpies Crusaders. It was a foul. Liam Shipton has been penalised. Taken quickly over towards this near side, and Reece Duncan. Duncan keeps it in well. Danger here for Magpies. Nagata back to Duncan. Nagata's continued his run on the inside. Uses Green instead. There it is, twisting and turning is Roos. And Roos wins a corner for Gold Coast United, the nominal home team here today, who have made all the running in these early stages. So they look to get this opening goal here at Meakin Park, underlying their status as favourites. Olympic have scored their 2nd against the Raw Youth, looking to put their past couple of rounds relative troubles to bed. This corner comes in from Smith, and it's aimed towards the back post, and it needed clearing. It's only cleared as far as Roos. Straight at Mitchell Wright, who is fairly comfortable in gathering that ball. But another good chance for Gold Coast United. Luka Zoric. Way out of his area there, and then Markham is called offside. Or came from an offside position, rather. Ryan Mooney in a good position. It's not going to stop Cole Markham having a little bit of a discussion about the relative merits of being called offside in that situation. With Paul Eldridge. Can't see what good it will do. Tomic has the ball at the back. Oh, it's a lovely turn over on that far side. And now they're away, Gold Coast. It's very nice from Gates. He's only played 3 games, a substitute appearance against Olympic. All sloppy there from Roos. And it's Shipton who picks his pocket. Still there for Shipton. That's a glorious ball over towards Lyle, and a nice touch by the Mackay captain. Tries to race into the area. There's a bit of a coming together with Nagata. I think Nagata used his body well, got himself in between himself and the ball. just did enough. Michael Lyle unable to get past, or second best option, win a penalty. It was a good opportunity for Mackay Whitsundays. They've done well to weather this early pressure from Gold Coast United, and now they just perhaps need to capitalise on the break. Cleared out for a throw-in. Can hear the shouts of reorganise. Can't let anything through. Looked like a push there, and that's exactly how Paul Eldridge saw it. Ideally placed for Total Tools referee. He signals to Mitchell Wright that he's going to have to wait for the whistle before this ball comes his way. Couple of Gold Coast players standing over it. It's laid off to Smith. There's the shot! Flashed high and wide in the end, but nice idea, and Lockie Roos is showing that he's got an eye for goal. Has already scored one. Half-time score at Corporate Travel Management Stadium. It is Brisbane City 2, Sunshine Coast 0. Two very early goals in the 6th and 8th minute up there in Brisbane this evening. No goals here as yet, though. Looked like a handball. Just a throw-in, says Paul Eldridge. I think Magpies Crusaders wanted more. They're probably entitled to from this angle. We are a fair distance away, though. I wouldn't dare suggest that my eyesight's any better than Paul Eldridge's. Dangerous looking free kick here, though, for Magpies Crusaders. Could get one into the box. You can see Lyle, Shipton and Quackawoot all waiting. It's a high one. It's well dealt with by Luka Zoric, who's signed to replace Zach Speedy. Zach Speedy only played a few games for Gold Coast United before relinquishing his position in the side. Work commitments, of course, a real issue for a lot of players at this level. He was unable to commit to the amount of training and travel. It's Archie Tomish. Races forwards. Not as effective as he has been before. That's a nice header, though, by Nagata. And here is Roos. Roos crabbing across the field. Receives the ball back by Panetta. Gets the ball back again. Tried to squeeze it through to Connor Smith, but never got to him. Gold Coast do retain possession, though, through Matt Green. A lot of pace on that far side. Smith's in the box. So's Duncan. And that's a glaring miss by Rhys Duncan. It's a golden opportunity for Gold Coast United. He had so much time. I think he had more time than he thought. Not quite sure Ezra Kennel had enough in him to change position and get himself into a space where he could cause problems. Oh, it's almost threaded through by Nagata. Tomic has to be alert here, and is. Against Markham. And here come Gold Coast again through Smith. Panetta's in the middle. Waiting for delivery. But he's not forthcoming. Comes now, but it's aimed towards Smith. It's still there for Smith. No, half cleared. Just out for a corner by Magpies Crusaders. Real danger here for the visitors. Connor Smith and Nick Panetta are lurking with intent around that 6-yard box. Panetta racing forward. It's a pre-worked move. Comes back, and it's at the back post. Oh, if Wernerson had got ahead to that, you'd have to have said Gold Coast would be 1-0 up. That's not how it worked out. And can Magpies Crusaders break? Janssen. Oh. Look like linesman. Dropped his flag there, but no matter. Here is Duncan. Janssen has his work cut out on that left-hand side of the Magpies' defence, but he does well to dispossess the very dangerous-looking Reece Duncan. All the way back to Zorich. Panetta. Bundled to the ground. Free kick for Gold Coast United. Bit of a discussion, and that's Jaden Connor, number 5 for Magpies Crusaders, having a bit of a discussion with referee Paul Eldridge. It's taken quickly and short by Gold Coast United. There's the shot! Oh, what a goal! What a fantastic strike by Matt Green! That's out of a top draw. And Matt Green, on just his second start of the season, picks up Gold Coast United's first. They lead 1-0. Midway through the first half, they've had to wait a fair while. That's excellent work from Matt Green. One of 3 inclusions into the squad for tonight's match by Sean Lane, and that's one move at least that's pulled off for the 2017 Premiership winning coach. Magpies under a lot of pressure now. Nagata's calling for it on this near side. It's not going to make it over to him. He's forced back, but here's another opportunity. Perhaps for Duncan. Duncan with the cute little back heel. He's never going to find his way through to Nick Panetta, though. Unfortunately, because that would have been a glorious goal. Or glorious chance created anyway. Here is Panetta. Smith. Roos. Yeah, Matt Green had a debut to forget for Gold Coast United against Olympic. He was sent off with the game at 2-0 to Gold Coast United, and looked like Ezra Kennel might have played Mitchell Wright a little bit short there, but it's worked out okay for Magpies Crusaders. Janssen's over on this near side and is found. Looking for an option ahead of him. Finds it through his captain, Michael Lowe. Surely a push by Nagata there, and that is exactly what we've seen. And Paul Eldridge just having to calm things down a little bit. Matt Green obviously got his blood rushing through his veins now after scoring that absolute stunner from all of 25 yards, perhaps more. I'm sure it'll increase throughout training over the course of the next couple of weeks. Shipton, that's a good looking ball, but Zorich looks fairly comfortable, the Serbian 19-year-old from Novi Sad. That's a leap fairly high to get that. This is his 4th consecutive start for Gold Coast. Here's Duncan. Duncan plays the ball inside to Roos. And Wright had to get down before Gates was able to come across and pinch it from him. They go short again, Magpies Crusaders, and it's not working out for them thus far. Well, that might have been a little bit too long from Archie Tomic, a little bit too far in the other direction perhaps. And it's easily gathered by Mitchell Wright. Yeah, sent off against Olympic was Matt Green at 2-0, and they ended up drawing that game 2-2 just a fortnight ago. Former striker junior is Matt Green. He'll be well pleased with that strike that's handed Gold Coast United a deserved lead, you'd have to say. Here's Duncan. Nagata continued on his run, but Duncan's going to race in towards the edge of the area. Oh, he slipped that ball through beautifully towards Panetta. And that's a second goal for Gold Coast United. Lovely football from the hosts. Looked like Connor Smith who got it. Former Evertonian. And if Gold Coast United deserved their one-goal lead, it's probably fair to say they deserved another as well. Have been very, very good so far tonight. Have the wandering Gold Coast United. So that ball ends up on the field behind us. Have come under fire a couple of times in the commentary position here over the course of the first few weeks of the season. That one was a little bit too high to be any danger. It's a foul by Carl Markham. He earns a talking to. As I mentioned before, every time he's got a yellow card, he's scored a goal. So I think he's perhaps hoping to talk himself into referee Eldridge's notebook for that clumsy-looking foul on Uru Nagata. But Eldridge is not obliging so far. Zorich lumps it long. It's met by the head of McBurney. South African. It's a nice looking ball, almost thread the needle, but Tomic is there again, and here's Smith. Gold Coast again streaming forward. Excellent run by Lockie Weir. Panetta. Smith. Back over on that far side. Panetta's made a run. It's cleared by Pablo Perez. And then a foul has gone again against Magpies Crusaders. They need to get a little lid on things here, do the visitors. Particularly Carl Markham. Started to concede a couple of clumsy fouls. You may have heard his expletive ring out around Meakin Park after that call went against him as well. Is Green. Tomic. Nagata. Roos goes back to Tomic. Tomic allowed the space to run, and Tomic is going to have a go. Got a long way underneath that, but he was given plenty of space to run into. Was the Gold Coast United captain, and he was very obliging to do so. They scored one from distance already. No reason why they couldn't get another. Check the scores around the grounds as that ball ends up in the grandstand here at Meakin Park. It's half-time at Corporate Travel Management Stadium. City leading Sunshine Coast by 2-0. Just kicked off the second half there, actually. Gold Coast United, you know that score. 2-0 here against Magpies Crusaders. Cairns have just taken the lead in the North Queensland Derby at Townsville. Olympic, we're 4-0 up now against Brisbane Raw Youth, who are really capitulating after a very strong start to the season. Ball gone all the way through to Luka Zoric. Interesting story, Luka Zoric. He's young, signed for Broadbeach United as a 17-year-old after moving to Australia just 4 years ago. Played for FC Borac and FC Proleta in his native Serbia. Here's Smith, plays the ball across to Duncan. Bit too far ahead of him, but Duncan is able to retain possession. Here's Roos. Roos to Green. Is he going to repeat the dose? No. Wide instead to Weir. Is Weir going to have a go? Weir is going to have a go. Straight at Mitchell. Mitchell Wright. Perhaps worth the effort. Straight up in the air. That header, and then there's a bit of a battle going on over on that far side, and this time Carl Markham wins the free kick rather than concedes one. Certainly looked like he was getting plenty of unwanted attention from the Gold Coast United player. Opportunity for Magpies Crusaders to whip one into the box. Perez was a late arrival, but it didn't get as far as him. Headed clear by Wernerson. It's been good so far at centre-back when called upon, as has his centre-back partner Asim Tomic, or Archie. Here's Gates. Gates has gone rampaging down that wing. Plenty of time. Tries to play in Connor Smith, but plays it straight out instead, and you could see what Connor Smith thought about that. Not best pleased. Former Everton junior. Still just 21 years old, Connor Smith. Speaking to the Gold Coast United staff before the game, they seemed happy with how he's progressing. Said he's still a raw talent, but very talented nonetheless. Free kick. It's again Markham who concedes it. Really is trying hard to get this yellow card from Paul Eldridge. Last touch came off Connor, who scored a goal and conceded an own goal in the 4-3 defeat, the devastating 4-3 defeat last week up at Slogginkin Oval. Bit of a mouthful to say quickly. Up there in Mackay, it's 3-1. The Magpies Crusaders were leading. Carlos Garcia said that the team was suffering the psychological pressure of being in the National Premier Leagues and a lack of experience, but still plenty of time to come back. But really they've impressed after what's been a very tough start to their life in the National League. Good pressure from Michael Lyle. And Gold Coast having to scramble a little bit. They do get it clear though, or at least retain possession. Here is Archie Tomic looking long and finds Lockie Roos. Roos flicks on, but the only person running onto it was Warwick Jansen, who's a former Queensland junior. Played for the Miners in the Queensland State League. And in the 2013 Central Queensland Energy side, played 19 games and scored against Moreton Bay United in that inaugural National Premier League's Queensland season. Only missed one game, Jansen, the Lions game. Back in round 4. Gata taking his time over that throw-in. In the end, worked out okay for Magpies Crusaders. Tito Jackson choosing wrong. Here's Lyle. That's a golden opportunity for Magpies Crusaders. It's a lovely ball by Tito Jackson. Came all the way through to Michael Lyle, and really he had the goal gaping. Went for power. And Luka Zoric will be sending some young'uns into the trees behind the goal to retrieve that ball. Watch out for snakes, lads. Roos. Over to Duncan. Duncan has Nagata behind him, and the ball eventually finds its way towards the former Rochdale man, but not through Duncan's intention. Well, heavy touch by Wernerson. Picks it back up, and that's a beautiful ball by Nagata. Very tasty towards Lockie Roos. And here's Duncan. Looked like he was getting a bit of a tug by Warwick Janssen. And he chips that ball a little bit too far ahead of any of his markers, and away come Magpies Crusaders, although Tito Jackson is forced back. Now it's launched forward towards Markham. Headed up in the air. Gold Coast clear. Just 3 minutes or so to go before the half-time break, and it's been an engrossing half, really dominated by Gold Coast United. They lead 2-0 thanks to a really glorious strike by Matt Green, and then a rather simpler one by Connor Smith. Lions have taken the lead against Moreton Bay United up at Walter Park. 20 minutes gone in that one. Closer to half an hour gone up in Townsville, where Cairns have taken a 2-0 lead against their North Queensland rivals. Brisbane City have just scored their third against Sunshine Coast as well. So as it stands, Magpies Crusaders and Sunshine Coast will both be on the bottom with 3 points each. They're 4 points adrift of a whole group of teams. 6 teams going into this weekend, all on 7 points, although of course Gold Coast United are one of them and will be up to 10. Interestingly enough, both wins have come for Gold Coast United in the tropical north this year. Meakin Park's not quite tropical, but there are palm trees and they are playing Magpies Crusaders, so perhaps they'll count it. It'll certainly help with the narrative. It's been a good first half so far for United, who did announce their A-League bid plans for these 2 new expansion franchises, or one of them at least. Probably be quite greedy to have both. Danny Mayer, the chairman, announced the bid on Wednesday, saying that the timing was perfect with the world's attention on the Gold Coast due to the Commonwealth Games. Of course, Commonwealth Games, the reason why Gold Coast United are here at Meakin Park, as Nick Panetta just fails to keep that ball in. The flag went up almost immediately on this near side from Ryan Mooning. Just getting a couple of spots of rain here on Brisbane's south side. There's been a fair bit of it about over the last few days, across the entire state really. Well, Janssen, if he had his time again, will want to pick that one better. That's a good strong tackle on Duncan, and Janssen's going to go for a little rampage now. He's cut off by Matt Green, but that was a good recovery from Warwick Janssen, who made a bit of a meal out of that ball through towards his captain Michael Lyle, and throw-in will be taken by Janssen, former Central Queensland Energy man. Receives it back from Quackerwood. Kaya Kwakwut, one of 4 relations in this Magpies Crusaders side, related to Ezra Kennel. And then the 2 bench players, Yaden Salam and Isaiah Kennel. A real family affair this National Premier League season for Magpies Crusaders. Roos, crossfields to Nagata. How's that for a touch? Sublime from the Rochdale man, former Rochdale man. Slipped in by Duncan. Cut back. That's nice. Smith was waiting. That's another glorious move on this near side by Gold Coast United, and they'll be looking to get another goal just before the break. They won't have too much time to get it. Paul Eldridge glancing at his watch. We are in added time at the moment. Smith to swing this ball in. Put right on top of Mitchell Wright, who comfortably gathers. He wants to play it short and does so. Good ball forward by Pablo Perez. That's nice over on that far side. There's options in the middle for Magpies Crusaders. Off the crossbar! Oh, and then flung wide by Zoric. There's a huge call for a handball. Magpies Crusaders players are furious at referee Paul Eldridge. To admit, it would have been a tough one to call. Ball bouncing around at a fairly rapid pace in the penalty area, but Magpies Crusaders will be upset, and then the frustration getting the better of Kyle Markham, who is finally shown the yellow card that he's been threatening to get all half. That was a nasty looking challenge over on that far side. And now Michael Lyle is having a bit of a talking to. Just about hear the words of Paul Eldridge as he speaks to Michael Lyle. Michael Lyle desperately upset about a perceived handball from the Gold Coast United defence in the penalty area. You heard Paul Eldridge just about say that he couldn't quite see it, and clearly he's not going to go back to it now. Needless to say, there is no VAR here in the National Premier League's Queensland, for which we are eternally thankful, but perhaps not if you're a Magpies Crusaders fan. Penalty would have been very welcome for the visitors just before the break. Won't be too much more time left in this first half, you wouldn't have thought. So that ball goes all the way out for a goal kick. Yet still, Paul Eldridge plays on. Right, will eventually take the goal kick. Former Dolphins player in the local league. He's a very good futsal player, apparently, Mitchell Wright. Was picked up playing in the Townsville Premiership for the Thuringowa Rebels. Zoric sweeping out at the back there. Apologies for the clock I was watching. A little bit ahead of where I thought I was, so there is still time remaining in this first half. Western Pride have grabbed a second against South West Queensland Thunder. They lead 2-0, as do Lions, up at Walter Park against Moreton Bay United. Jack Gates escapes one challenger, but then is dispossessed. One last chance in this first half for Magpies Crusaders. The header on was by Lyle, but it was far too far ahead of Kyle Markham. Markham put Zorich under a fair bit of pressure then. He's on a yellow card already. Is Markham, so he will have to be aware to those challenges. Half-time at the Logan Metro Sports Complex, and Olympic lead Brisbane Royal Youth by 4-0. 4-0 also the score at Corporate Travel Management Stadium against Sunshine Coast for Brisbane City. Plenty of goals going in around the grounds here in the National Premier League's Queensland. You'll be able to catch all the highlights on the Football Queensland Facebook page. That's a lovely ball played through towards Markham, who goes to ground. Here's a free kick. Tomic was the guilty party, and I think Markham's saying, well, hang on, I was through on goal there. Surely I deserve some sort of retribution in the form of a yellow card. Went down quite theatrically, did Markham. I'll say it quietly. Markham does have a hold of the ball. This would be a great time to score for the Magpies Crusaders to make the second half a little bit more interesting. Markham with his back to goal. Perez is there too, as is Lyle. Perez looks like he fancies it. He's the marquee from Spain. It's going to be Lyle. In hindsight, perhaps he should have left it to one of his teammates. That was not really threatening anyone other than those ball boys behind the goal. Disappointing way for the Magpies Crusaders to end the half. It's a relatively short goal kick. Is helped onwards by Weir. Gates can't keep it in at the other side. And that is all we're going to see in this first half. You can hear the shouts from the crowd encouraging Gold Coast United. It's been a good week so far for Gold Coast United, of course, announcing their A-League bid, expansion bid, on Wednesday. And they're continuing that bid announcement with a fine first half performance so far against the Magpies Crusaders. They lead at the break by 2-0 thanks to a wonder strike from Matt Green and a rather simpler one from Connor Smith. 2-0 at the break. Join us in a short while where we'll have all the second half action live from Meakin Park.
We swear a lot at Total Tools. We swear by our range. We swear by our service. And of course, we swear by our prices. So you'll know that you're buying at the best price every day. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
I could watch them all day. Even though here, you don't feel like you need to. These are the moments I'll remember. You see, to me, it's not so much just having us all together, but finding a place that really brings us together. That's what makes Oaks Oasis special. When you only get a few chances, it's important to make them count. After all, memories don't make themselves.
Audi, anything Rouge. Mini Star. Oh, Mini Star. Ah! Audi. Dream Team.
Reckon your kid could do better than Archie? We're looking for 4 mini stars to join the Aldi Mini Roos Dream Team. If your kid's between 4 and 11, loves football, get them to make a video.
2 minutes max.
Showing us why they've got what it takes. If they're picked, they'll be part of the Aldi Mini Roos Dream Team and the face of Aldi's wheat biscuits.
I thought I was meant to be on the box.
Shot takes it first time, and East have a second goal. Well crafted again from the Tigers.
Great today.
We swear a lot at Total Tools. We swear by our range. We swear by our service. And of course, we swear by our prices. So you'll know that you're buying at the best price every day. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
I could watch them all day. Even though here, you don't feel like you need to. These are the moments I'll remember. You see, to me, it's not so much just having us all together, but finding a place that really brings us together. That's what makes Oaks Oasis special. When you only get a few chances, it's important to make them count. After all, memories don't make themselves.
Aldi Mini Roos. Mini Star. Oh, Mini Star. Ah! Audi. Dream Team.
Reckon your kid could do better than Archie? We're looking for 4 mini stars to join the Aldi Mini Roos Dream Team. If your kid's between 4 and 11 loves football, get them to make a video.
2 minutes max.
Showing us why they've got what it takes. If they're picked, they'll be part of the Aldi Mini Roos Dream Team and the face of Aldi's wheat biscuits.
I thought I was meant to be on the box.
Shaw takes it first time, and East have a second goal. Well crafted again from the Tigers.
Free kick to Gold Coast. Agata goes back. Wernerson. Duncan, he was lively in the first half. Uses Connor Smith, stayed on side well. The Englishman, 21 years old, from Liverpool. Weir. Cuts back inside, dodges the challenge of Connor. Panetta, back to Weir. Weir forced back to Wernerson. Good spell of possession from the hosts. Playing here at Meakin Park for Commonwealth Games operational reasons. Ball aimed towards Jaden Connor in the number 5 shirt for Magpies Crusaders, but couldn't quite squeeze it through, and now an opportunity for Reece Duncan to wiggle his way down that right wing. He is dispossessed by a combination of players. Unfortunately, Magpies Crusaders can't keep that ball in, and that ball's going to go dangerously close to where my car's parked, behind the main operational building here at Football Queensland. Football Queensland, the home, or Meakin Park, the home of Football Queensland. Utilising this pitch for the first time this National Premier League Queensland season. We did play a game here last year, Far North Queensland against the Brisbane Roar Youth from memory. We're back here in round 8 in 2018. Gold Coast playing the ball very nicely amongst themselves. Weir. Oh, that was late. A little bit nasty from McBurney. The South African's going to be spoken to by referee Paul Eldridge. Played for the Whitsunday Miners in the Queensland State League. He's been playing in the local league with Lions and Wanderers. He's an all-action player, throws himself about a little bit. In fact, went off with concussion last week in the 4-3 defeat against South West Queensland Thunder up in Mackay. It was Lockie Roos who went down. Former Marconian South Coast Wolves player. Seems to have dusted himself off, and here's Lockie Weir. Wernerson. Here's Tomic. Duncan couldn't rise high enough, but it is a Gold Coast throw-in over on that far side. Nagata back to his captain. Duncan and Smith linking up well, but it's a Magpies Crusaders throw. Looked like a handball against Matt Green, and that is how Paul Eldridge saw it too. Opportunity for Magpies Crusaders to get their foot on the ball in this second half. Hasn't been the case thus far. Early on in this second half, Magpies Crusaders trailing by 2-0. It was Green who conceded that handball, who scored the opener. Good opener too. Wakawu turned into a bit of a corner, and then there's a bit of a battle going on. Michael Lyle being manhandled or manhandling Uru Nagata. It was the former, according to Paul Eldridge. They're still having a conversation, Uru Nagata and Connor Smith, as to whether or not that should have been a free kick. Swept in towards the near post where it is cleared. Smith Tries to thread the needle to Panetta, but never got to him. And Smith chasing very hard to put Mitchell Wright under all sorts of pressure, but Magpies Crusaders do conspire to clear, but that's sloppy over on that near side in front of Sean Lane on the Gold Coast dugout. Ball allowed to go out for a Gold Coast United throw, and you'd have to say Gold Coast United looking fairly comfortable so far. Quite a few balls going missing. Couple more scores to bring you up to date. We'll bring you up to date after this ball comes in from Duncan. Oh, it's fallen all the way through to Jack Gates. I don't think Gates could quite believe his luck. The ball falling straight to him. It was at a difficult height. And Gates could only guide it wide of Mitchell Wright's post. Good opportunity for Gold Coast United to extend their lead. And Jack Gates looking for his opening goal of the season. Tasmanian played for Kingborough Lions and changed to Hobart Zebras last year. Smith is bundled to the ground. No foul, says Paul Eldridge. Like slightly rough call. Smith was unceremoniously smashed into from behind. Nothing doing, says referee Paul Eldridge. I'm saying a couple of more score updates from around the ground. City and Olympic going goal for goal at the moment, both leading 6-0 against Sunshine Coast and Brisbane Roar Youth respectively. Olympic are away at Logan Metro, which is not proving a happy hunting ground. Here's Panetta for Gold Coast United. Panetta gets that ball across. It was there for Gates again. It's still there. Good save. It's headed clear by Warwick Janssen. Good opportunity for Gold Coast United, and Magpies Crusaders really hanging on now. Wasted effort over on that far side. For Gold Coast United, and that allows Magpies Crusaders the opportunity to clear through Mitchell Wright. Gives that one a fair whack over halfway. It's lovely work again from Lockie Roos in the midfield. Really working incredibly well for Sean Lane's side is Roos. Played at Marconi for a spell. Here's Connor Smith though. Played in England. Oh, it's an unfortunate deflection off the head of Pablo Perez. The 20-year-old Spaniard does concede the corner. Came off the back of his head. Bit of a discussion going on between Perez ball swung in, it's cleared at the near post by Carl Markham. Lovely switch ball by Roos to Smith. Smith goes backwards to Panetta. Panetta to Smith. Oh, somehow conspired to find its way through to Gates, but just a throw-in. Conceded by Connor. ...11 minutes gone in this second half. Tomic going forwards as he has done so many times so far in this encounter, but chooses to go back to Zoric. Bernison. Sloppy from Gold Coast United. Haven't said that too many times today. And here's an opportunity perhaps for Mackay Crusaders through Liam Shipton. Ezra Kennel, who was in a bit of trouble at the back, had to use his goalkeeper, but come away with it through Perez. Well, now it's going to fall perhaps for Markham. Off the base of the post. Oh, nice effort from Magpies Crusaders, and that could have been the spark that they needed, and you can hear the rise in the atmosphere as well around Meakin Park as Magpies Crusaders threaten to make a game of this here in the second half. They trail by 2-0 as it stands, but were the width of the post away from getting back into it. Connor Smith, wide to Gates. Gates gets the cross in against Tito Jackson, and it's headed back towards goal by Reece Duncan at the back post, but there's nowhere near putting Mitchell Wright in danger. And we continue. A couple more updates around the ground. It's full time at Corporate Travel Management Stadium. Brisbane City 6-0 against Sunshine Coast. Western Pride have got a goal against South West Queensland Thunder. They lead by 3-1 now. North Queensland United have pulled one back against Cairns, 2-1 in the north. Other games remain the same. It's hacked clear by Tito Jackson under a fair amount of pressure from Gates. Good work from Markham to dispossess Lockie Weir. But Gold Coast United do get the throw in, and they will retain possession at the back through Wernerson. Nice switch ball and offside. It's a lovely ball. Bounced a little bit, unfortunately, for Reece Duncan, but a lovely idea. Speaking of good balls, that was a great one, right onto the head of Kyle Markham. Going to get scrappy. Looked like Matt Green might have been caught a little late by Michael Lyle, but referee played advantage well. Panetta chasing down Mitchell Wright, who is good with his feet, the futsal star. Perez looking long to Markham, doesn't get to him though. Perez concedes the free kick. Expresses his displeasure, and then Eldridge and Perez have a shrug off. Lockie Roos was the fouled player, and it did look like a foul from this angle. Gates. Weir. Weir was put to ground then. Oh, could be a clash in the middle. And McBurney got there first, ahead of Panetta. And that ball's gone all the way through to Lucas Orridge. It was a nice idea. Kyle Markham shows his appreciation with the hand up. The former Cove star in the NPL South Australia. He played 75 games down in the south, scoring 45 goals for the Cove. Played in the UK for Hednesford Town as well, as in the Spanish third division, but left because of the difficulty in the language barrier. Now, of course, has a Spanish coach in Carlos Garcia, former Real Madrid youth coach. Came to Mackay from Dubai Sports City, where he was the senior coach there. And his side trailed by 2-0, but Liam Shipton has an opportunity now to deliver a ball into the danger zone. Perez is there, adding some height to proceedings. Ball comes in high, aimed towards Perez at the back post. It was a glancing header clear, but it's still there for Magpies Crusaders. Connor heads it on. Markham is dispossessed. He had 3 Gold Coast players around him, and there's always going to be an uphill battle. Here comes Gates for Gold Coast United, and Gates is running hard at Jackson and breezes past him, but Tito does well to stay with him. No foul on Lockie Roos by Connor. Both flung themselves to the ground, but Gold Coast United retain possession. Here is the goal scorer, Matt Green, the opening goal scorer. His goal was added to by Connor Smith, and here is Connor Smith, slid through, and then he went to deck very, very early and tried to put Mitchell right off more than anything else, but 22-year-old was more than comfortable in dealing with that. Gold Coast come again. Panetta, nice bit of control. Nagata. Bruce skips away from a challenge. But Magpies Crusaders come away through Markham. Markham's done very well to retain possession here. Dangerous from Markham. It was well shadowed by Lockie Weir. Lockie Weir played 4 games for Football Queensland Premier side Wolves. Towards the bottom of the table in the second tier. Flags up. Cole Markham must have been offside. He doesn't agree. Goes without saying. His goal drought now standing at 3.5 plus a little bit. Foul given against Kyle Markham, and it was a little bit late on Archie Tomic. Now he's getting a talking to. Was booked in the first half, Kyle Markham, so he's treading the tightrope now with Paul Eldridge, whose patience will be rapidly diminishing. This is Markham's 4th yellow card in just 7 games for Magpies Crusaders. He has scored each previous time that he's got a yellow card, but no goal as yet, and he's looking more likely to pick up a second booking rather than a goal. Nagata flung himself to ground over on that far side. Looked like an arm did go up, perhaps by Michael Lyle, was it? I think it was. Didn't look like there was all that too much in it, and Nagata hasn't continued his protestations, and now gets a little bit of retribution by felling the Magpies Crusaders captain, and Gold Coast will look to build from the back. Smith to the aforementioned Nagata, back to Smith. Green. Wernerson. Nice idea. And it was the beginning of a very impressive flowing move by Gold Coast United, but Roos' pass was slightly misdirected, or Lockie Weir not on the same wavelength, and it goes out for a Magpies throw. And you'd have to say Magpies Crusaders were really let off then, because Gold Coast moving the ball around beautifully. Lumped forward by Ezra Kennel. Well dealt with though. Green using his captain Tomic. Fallen for Magpies Crusaders though, and they do win a free kick in the end. A couple of Bronx cheers go up from the Magpies Crusaders fans. There's a fair number of them who've travelled down from Mackay and Whitsundays, although have developed something of a cult following here in the Football Queensland National Premier Leagues. Swept in. Well cleared. Here it is for Kyle McBurney, and he got underneath that and South African, not known for his goal scoring. Radar well and truly off target. He got right underneath that and the ball has been launched into the trees. They're a fair distance behind Luka Zoric's goal. Gold Coast moving the ball around, lovely. That's nice from Wernerson. Love seeing centre-backs doing those turns and selling their opponents short. Flag went up against Lockie Roos. He disagreed. Headed the ball backwards towards Jack Gates. And again, a lovely flowing move is being brought to an end, unfortunately, for Gold Coast United. They've been playing some nice football so far. Headed on. Is it going to fall for Connor? Doesn't quite get there, does Connor, and then concedes the foul. No foul. Ball's still there. Here's Kwakawoot trying to thread the ball through. Unable to do so, and Gold Coast will break. Here is Panetta. Nice from Panetta. He's under all sorts of pressure from Perez. And Perez concedes the foul, and he is going to go into Paul Eldridge's notebook. That's been coming as well, you have to say. Perez's frustration growing. I'll spit the words out eventually. Perez's frustration growing with time, and a couple of decisions he felt haven't gone his way, but it's fairly clear that that was a foul, and he justifiably goes into Paul Eldridge's notebook alongside his teammate Carl Markham. Both players will have to walk the tightrope from now on. Wernerson. Weir. Nice idea from Weir, but didn't find its way through to Roos. Lovely work by Perez. Shipton and Markham just getting themselves a little bit muddled up. And Shipton came together with Lockie Roos, but managed to stop himself from fouling the live wire Gold Coast midfielder, did Shipton. Two shared a bit of a moment, which was nice. Lockie Weir racing forwards for Gold Coast United. Rare ball. Chipped that ball over the top to Reece Duncan. That's nice football from Gold Coast again. We've said that a couple of times. It's a hallmark of Sean Lane's sides to play this nice passing style. Did so to great effect with the strikers last year. So they won the Premiership. Here come Magpies Crusaders through Markham. Markham shaping up Wernerson. And then gets the ball across in the end. He did incredibly well, Carl Markham. And Gold Coast United concede a corner. Great opportunity for Magpies Crusaders. They need to score soon if they're to get back into the game and to get anything from their trip down south. Carl Markham struggling a little bit. Seeing a substitution for Gold Coast United. Brandon Reeves who comes on. Ball's looped towards the back post where Lyle is waiting. Still on this near side. And it's hacked clear by Gold Coast, only as far as McBurney. He launches that over to the far side where Shipton battles for the ball. And he got a touch off Shipton. Unfortunate for Magpies Crusaders that. You hear the shouts of encouragement from their fans. Midway through the second half. Just over midway through. Just confirming whether or not it was Reece Duncan who was withdrawn by Sean Lane. I think it was. Moved down the coast from Strikers in 2016, having previously played with Palm Beach in 2015. Did Reece Duncan. He's been replaced by Reeves though. He was one of 2 Gold Coast players sent off against the Raw. He's done well then. Did Connor Smith. Got the ball wide to Gates. It's well defended by Magpies Crusaders, just a throw in. The damage, as it were. This time a corner is conceded. Tito Jackson, 2017 Ken Lorimer medalist. After another impressive performance for Wanderers FC in the local leagues. If you include FFA Cup games, he played 100 games for Wanderers, scoring 10 goals. Out wide to Roos, it got a deflection, and it's in. Magpies Crusaders are appealing. I think it came off Jack Gates. It's he who got the final touch. And that confirmed. Good shot from Roos. It looked destined perhaps for the far corner, but that deflection was very unkind to Mitchell Wright. The 22-year-old Tasmanian gets his first goal of the season. And it's a long way back now for Magpies Crusaders United. Perez launches that ball forward. Just comes straight back. Here's Roos. Roos racing into the area. Was challenged by Janssen. Janssen either has a word or just reminds Lockie Rees that he didn't need to go down in that situation. We have seen a yellow card being issued to Mitchell Lyle. Oh, it's a red card. Pablo Perez sent off for a second bookable offence. Must have been for something he said. Things going from bad to worse for Magpies Crusaders. Had to be something that was said. Perez nowhere near the action and no fouls being given, so hugely disappointing for Pablo Perez. He'll have some explaining to do for Carlos Garcia. You don't like seeing players sent off for something they said, something that's been totally in their control rather than just a sloppy challenge. That's hugely disappointing, and if they weren't up against it before, Magpies Crusaders surely are now. Corner being taken over on that far side in the shade. See the lights reflecting off the tree alongside the lights here. It's fallen over towards Gates. He got hold of that, but it was cleared by the head of a Mackay defender. Oh, it's an acrobatic stop by Wright. He's hit the deck, and he's remained on the deck. Magpies Crusaders could do worse than kicking this ball out. Instead, Paul Eldridge stops the game, and that looked a little bit uncomfortable for Mitchell Wright. He fell pretty hard. And we need to have some attention for Mitchell Wright. Well, let's pick apart what's just happened over the last few minutes. Gold Coast United scored their third goal, shot by Lockie Roos, deflected into the net by Jack Gates. Magpies Crusaders players were fuming that there might have been a hand involved in all that. And you have to say that's probably what led to Pablo Perez receiving his second yellow card for dissent. The marquee Spaniard receiving his marching orders from Paul Eldridge in the most disappointing of ways for a coach. Carlos Garcia will, I'm sure, be having words with his marquee man. That is hugely disappointing for Magpies Crusaders, who received the ball back through Lockie Weir after the drop ball by Paul Eldridge. If they weren't up against it before, Gold Coast United have surely given it to Magpies Crusaders now. Not the first red card of the evening around the ground. South West Queensland Thunder are down to 10 men as well. And Western Pride have turned it on in the second half. 6-1 they lead now at Briggs Road, as Gold Coast United make another substitution. This time Jack Gates is the man to go off. Slowly make his way over to the sideline. I'll update you on the other goals around the ground. Cairns now lead North Queensland United by 4-1 in Townsville. Olympic v Brisbane Roar has remained 6-0, and Lions are still leading Moreton Bay United by 2-0. Brisbane City, the Sunshine Coast, the earlier score of 6-0. Western Pride have just scored a 7th against the Thunder at Briggs Road. Friday night's game, haven't mentioned that yet. Redlands United taking the lead through Alex Warrilow against Strikers, but two Jake McLean goals, handing the Strikers the lead. Let's see a substitution for Magpies Crusaders as well now. Jaden Connor coming off. Julian Matthews came on for Gold Coast United. And Jaden Salam, 17 years old this year, has come on. Came on in the 73rd minute in the last 2 games. Oh, good save by Mitchell Wright. Just slapped that away, and he's inspecting his gloves now. He's the 22-year-old Mackay-born shot stopper. Lockie Roos has a go. Causing a few problems for Mitchell Wright. Fumbled it. Perhaps there's something wrong with those gloves that he was studying so intently just before, but that's what he'll say anyway. Here's the substitute, Julian Matthews. Won a premiership and championship with Palm Beach in 2014. Made his appearance off the bench last week as well. In the 1-0 win against North Queensland. 23 years old. He's spent 2 years in the Philippines with Kaya. Finished 4th in the table there. and made the last 16 of the AFC Cup, which is the second tier Asian Continental Cup. Played in Hong Kong, Macau, England with Guildford Saints, and trialled with Stoke and Brentford, so plenty of experience for 23-year-old. It's just his third appearance of the season. Connor Smith emerges from the shadows to take that corner. It's out to Lockie Weir. Lockie Weir looked like he was shaping to shoot, but in the end is dispossessed. That's terribly sloppy. Terribly sloppy from Michael Lyle. Lockie Weir appears to have come off second best in that challenge with Michael Lyle and will need some treatment. He's in all sorts of pain. Is it a rib? It's holding his midriff. Looks to be in a fair amount of pain. Is it a shoulder? He'll receive some attention. So a whole host of players run over to pick up some drinks. It's been a relatively warm evening, very humid here at Meakin Park. Under 10 minutes to go with stoppage time, you'd think. Another substitution, the final substitution for Gold Coast United. Matt Green, who opened the scoring with that glorious low drive, will be withdrawn. It's a fine strike in the 27th minute for Gold Coast United. Handed them the lead that their supremacy demanded, really. Alistair Davis, who's come on, former Redlands man, born in Prosperine, so not a million miles, well, certainly in the catchment area of Magpies Crusaders. That ball's narrowly missed us up here on the hill. Can Magpies Crusaders, the 10 men of the Magpies Crusaders, of course Pablo Perez has been sent off if you just joined us. Can they salvage something, anything from this game? Speed, just the second time that they've been held goalless, if it remains this way in the league this year. It's played straight out by Ezra Kennel. 2017 with the Northern Fury Academy. Lockie Weir seems to have recovered from that shoulder or rib injury that he picked up just a few moments ago. Here's the substitute, Brandon Reeves. Brandon Reeves with the cross. It's a punch from Mitchell Wright. Didn't trust himself to catch that ball. It was coming with a fair velocity on it. It's perhaps a wise option. It's paid off for him anyway. Here's Davis, the substitute. Mistake at the back from Magpies Crusaders. Lovely ball out towards a fellow substitute, Matthews. Oh, it trickles the wrong side of the post from Magpies Crusaders' perspective. Paul Eldridge having another chat with Carl Markham. That tightrope's getting thinner and thinner for the Magpies Crusaders forward. Another long chat. Magpies Crusaders keep double figures on the field. Not long remaining now for them to do so. Roos out wide. Lovely ball onto the head of the offside Alistair Davis, was he? No, flag stayed down. It's a flash of the cameraman that I saw. Reflection from his lens. It's an unorthodox way to retain possession from Alistair Davis. Must have Seen a couple of flicks, extravagant flicks that we've seen in Europe that have resulted in goals over the last couple of weeks. Plenty of space out wide for Lockie Weir. Smith. That's nice to Davis. And out wide to Reeves. Reeves has time to pick his spot. Tries to find Davis. It almost squeezed through to him. Instead it's with Markham, who's quite easily dispossessed in the end. Another opportunity perhaps. Reeves pulls for trigger. Gold Coast ball. To the final 2 minutes of action. Give or take stoppage time. As we'll start summing things up, Magpies Crusaders have been outclassed in truth by Gold Coast United. Matt Green opening the scoring just before the half-hour mark, and Connor Smith adding a second just a short time after. Foul over on that far side. Magpies Crusaders player charging in. It was Quackerwood. Mackay Quackerwood. His relation Jaden Salam has just come on for Magpies Crusaders, who conceded that. Michael Lyle not quite agreeing with that decision. Flinging his hand up in frustration on a couple of occasions. Has an opportunity now to effect a tackle. Doesn't do so. And now bundles the ball to the ground. Penalty. Clear frustration, and now there's a little bit of afters from Michael Lyle, and it's all descending into a little bit of chaos for Magpies Crusaders. Is a bad night about to get worse for their captain. Referee Paul Eldridge and his team, Ryan Mooney and John Vasilidas, have some work to do here to discuss what sanction, if any, is required on Michael Lyle. Michael Lyle's trying to get involved in the conversation. I don't think his opinion is what Paul Eldridge and Ryan Mooney need or want. He conceded the foul, bundling Gold Coast United player over. It's Connor Smith who's going to get the opportunity to score a brace. Paul Eldridge calling Nagata over first. Heard the cries of the crowd. There's a yellow card for Nagata. Here's Smith. It's fairly confidently dispatched, and that's Gold Coast United's fourth. A difficult night for Magpies Crusaders. Rather punctuated by that Connor Smith penalty. It's a clumsy challenge by Michael Lyle. They let the frustration of being dispossessed really get to him, and I think that's really summed up Magpies Crusaders' night quite well. Frustration and continued frustration. They remain alongside Sunshine Coast at the bottom of the table tonight. Kyle Markham trying to rectify something from the situation. Hits that ball straight into Uru Nagata, who received a yellow card for his involvement in that little confrontation after the penalty was given. It's one of the most threatening moments from Magpies Crusaders. Too little too late, unfortunately, for the visitors tonight. Gold Coast United continue their fine record against teams from the north. Ball all the way through to Kyle Markham. And Markham, a late flag on this near side. He wants a discussion, does John Vasilidas, with Paul Eldridge before anything is given for this goal. Kyle Markham may well explode if this isn't given. He looks very upset. Gold Coast United seem fairly convinced that it won't be given. It is. And remarkably, Kyle Markham continues his record of scoring a goal every time he's received a yellow card. Stats for the win. It'll be nothing more than a consolation for Magpies Crusaders, but they've still only failed to score in the one game thus far this year. And they've kept plugging away. And the 10 men of the Magpies Crusaders at least have something to show for their afternoon other than disappointment. Salam closed down quickly and fairly enthusiastically by Lockie Weir. He's recovered just fine from his rib injury, it seems. Lockie will take the throw. Headed half clear by Tito Jackson, but Salam rather gets in the way. It's a Gold Coast ball. Gold Coast continue the high tempo game. Well, Connor Smith really slices that one fairly untidily, but Reeves recovers and Reeves will receive the ball back, will he? No, it's headed clear. And Smith really got hold of that through ball and ended up going all the way through to Mitchell Wright. Well into time added on now. At the end of this game, referee Eldridge has had a fair bit to do after Pablo Perez was sent off. And there was the scuffle after Gold Coast's penalty, which Connor Smith converted with aplomb to give the hosts, the nominal hosts, of course, playing away from their Station Reserve ground. If you're familiar with Station Reserve, this is not it. This is Meakin Park, home of Football Queensland, and due to Commonwealth Games usage, Station Reserve was unavailable, so Meakin Park, the home ground for Gold Coast United, and it's a welcome home ground. Picked up their first win in round one, but they haven't picked up a win at home yet this season. This is their first, and it's a fairly comfortable win, 4-1. Gold Coast United running out winners against the 10 men of the Magpies Crusaders, who had Pablo Perez sent off late for seemingly dissent. And in truth, Gold Coast United had been dominant way before that. They led just before the half-hour mark by a wonder strike from Matt Green. The ball fell to him about 25 yards out from goal, and he launched a low drive into the bottom corner of the goal to hand United the lead. That was then doubled by Connor Smith just after the half-hour mark, and then Jack Gates got United's third after Lockie Roos's shot was deflected in. A deflection that ended up inadvertently perhaps causing the sending off of Paulo Perez, because he vociferously protested that it should have perhaps been a handball given against Jack Gates. Connor Smith added a penalty in added time, and then Kyle Markham continued his remarkable record of scoring in every game that he has received a caution in by adding a little bit of gloss for Magpies Crusaders at the end. But it's finished 4-1 for Gold Coast United. A fantastic week for Gold Coast United. They've announced their A-League bid. They've picked up a valuable 3 points in the National Premier League's Queensland. They keep them on track with their fellow bidders, Brisbane Strikers and Brisbane City, who also have won this weekend. That's all from me, Simon Smale. Thank you very much to Double Take for the filming and production, and for Football Queensland for hosting the match on YouTube and the Facebook page. If you're not sick of my voice just yet, you can join myself and Matthew McInnery up in Harvey Bay for Wide Bay Buccaneers against Sunshine Coast Wanderers. That kicks off at 3 o'clock. Be looking forward to joining you there. If not, enjoy the rest of your weekend and good evening.